As a performer, your body is there.
Hi, I'm Mad Kate, and you're listening to S.W.E.A.T. Sexuality, work, extraction, art, theatrics. S.W.E.A.T is a series of conversations about performance and performativity of the sexual and sexualized body at work, where work is broadly defined as the labor of survival, the labor of care, creativity, and capital A, art. How exactly do we define our work? And how does that work entangle and circumscribe our sexual identities, our creative lives, and the ways in which we provide care? How do we perform tasks, acts of care, and identities? Anchored in our always already racialized and sexualized bodies, our complex intersectionalities, these conversations are a means of relating through work to each other. I hope they contribute to dialogues which normalize sex work as work, and all work is deserving of respect, healthy conditions, and a living wage.
Even as a Muslim, within my own community of Muslims, some people don't like the black in me. Even as a black, some people don't like the faith I've chosen. And as a female, there'll always be a struggle identifying with this gender.
This month's conversation is with Sami Rhymes, an international award-winning spoken word artist, poet, and author from London. I met Sami at the Athens International Video Poetry Festival earlier this year. In 2022, she released her debut EP, Triple Threat.
We enter different spaces, and I'm someone who always enters spaces where people don't look like me, and I'm bold, and I feel like my voice is needed in those spaces, so I don't care. I'm like, bring me there. I'm not scared to travel to a place where I might not be welcomed. I will go. If there's a need for me to be there, I will go.
Sami uses rhyme as a form of release and therapy. And through her spoken word, she inspires people in her community to speak up and take action. Her poetry touches on themes like identity, community, relationships, mental health, injustice, and everyday life. She's currently working on a new one-woman play, continuing to explore storytelling through powerful personal performance.
A working body. I think we've been working since birth, right? No, I mean, my body has been working since I've been breathing. I feel like the minute you land on this earth, you've got a role to play. I think those early years shape you. They identify a lot of things that would then lead on to what you become as an adult. Because the minute you land onto this crazy planet, you're looking at your surroundings and your body's working to figure out how to adapt to this new environment that it's landed in.
What are all the different kinds of work that you've done as a body?
I've done a lot of things. I mean, let's count the paper rounds as a young child. Let's count the hustle in school, making money by any means. And then growing up in various different careers, from trying to make ends meet while you're studying, in retail, sales, hospitality. And then a big chunk of my life has actually been in marketing and creativity and project management, which is kind of a profession I do on the side. And yeah, also just writing, whether it's poetry, scripts, different, using my voice.
When did you know that you wanted to use your voice?
I think in primary school. I didn't know I wanted to be a poet or anything, but I always wanted, my primary school was like a music school, literally. We had semi-briefs on our uniform. And our music teacher was all big on stage production. And I was always the first to run and try and audition to get lead roles in our plays. So I joined the choirs. I played steel pan, I played drum kit, recorder, you name it. I was just into rhythm and just kind of using my voice to release. There was something therapeutic about it, and I enjoyed that process. And then I guess when you go through get a bit older in your high school years as well, I fell in love with the spoken element. So a lot of things that were initially on the page or just scripts that were written by other people started to become my own work. And my passion as well for everything that's going on around this crazy world. I used to do a lot of charity work quite young. So I found myself in school holding those buckets, doing the fundraisers, doing crazy challenges. A, because it was fun as well, but B, because I noticed there were a lot of communities that had a lot less, and something didn't sit right, the rich and poor divide. And from a young age started to kind of research and look into the crazy world and why there's so many differences, and subjects such as even geography teaching us basics about LEDCs and MEDCs and not understanding. Although my family origin is Cameroon, I always grew up in the UK. And my parents first took me back to Cameroon when I was 7. And I felt like that was a completely different world. They took me everywhere, nice bits as well as the villages. And I was just like, is that what I could have been? Like, could I have potentially lived life like these young kids? And I remember towards the last day in one of the villages that we went to, I thought I packed my bag, like my mum said, and was ready to go. And I remember my mum basically emptying out that bag and giving all the kids in the village my clothes and stuff. You see all these kids. So think about it. You're about 7, 8, and you see all these kids running around in your fresh clothes, and you're like, why are they wearing my clothes? That's your initial reaction, right? Because you're a kid.
Sure.
But then you grow up and you realize, you know what? I can get another one when I get back. It's not the end of the world. These kids, that's probably their fresh clothes for the year until someone else comes and delivers more aid. So I think experiencing different communities makes you realize you have a bit of privilege, you know, because I could have grown up worse off. Not saying that I had the best or silver spoon kind of lifestyle, but you will always find someone who's worse off, and you feel the need to speak out on your experiences. I feel like the world is my biggest teacher. I'm quite well traveled, and when I go around to places, I see so many different things. And I think it's necessary to retell these stories.
Well, thank you so much for agreeing to jump on. And normally what I do is I try to get a draft to my guests.
Funny thing is, my very first book that I wrote was as a 7-year-old. And
wow.
I know, but obviously not to the level where it was published. Just in English lessons, my teacher at the time, Miss Richards, challenged us to just write some stuff. And, you know, I wrote a full-on book with a beginning, middle, and end structure. She read it and she's like, you've actually just kind of completed your first book. And I was just like, yeah, I've told a story. I have. Amazing. And I guess, although that wasn't poetry, which is what I do more of now, it was still me using my voice, imagery, to relay something in that format, in literature. It was only like when I was 9 that I entered a poetry competition in school, just for fun. And that poem ended up getting published. And then same thing happened again at the age of 10. Another competition came along, that got published. And then again at the age of 11. So my last couple of years in primary school ended up being poetry, young writer Sami. And then you move to high school, and then you are entering a different chapter in your life. And you kind of park a lot of things that you do in primary school as part of your growth. And just, you're going through a period of discovery and trying to figure out what it is that you like. So going back again to your initial question about the body of work, and you're constantly working, right? I was a young writer. That was me being a writer as a profession in my youth, but just for fun.
Right.
And then again, high school brought out different bodies of work.
What did it feel like in your body to write? I'm really interested in the somatic moments physicality of different kinds of work. And, it's interesting with writing, you sit there and you have a pen maybe, or I guess when you're younger, depending on how you were raised, maybe you also went straight to the computer or typewriter. I don't know. But yeah, what's that physical act of that channeling of putting words onto the page?
You know what? It's funny. When I was younger, I was definitely more of a writer. I love pen and paper. Now, I struggle. I prefer to type. And I guess that's just technology and also the brain having so many tabs open. And I think you're more accustomed to perfection as you grow up and you edit more.
Right.
When it's pen and paper, that innocence, you just kind of let things out. You've got so much to say as a kid and you just pour and pour. And there's a lot of innocence coming out on that page. As you grow up, you analyze more. Your brain's developed a bit more. You see the world in a different angle, and there's a lot more depth in what you release. So physically, your brain and your body is going through a journey before you get to that output.
Like a journey of censorship to some degree?
Do you know what? I would like to say I'm a no filter poet. I say things as it is. Though I do feel I'm someone who does get censored from time to time for that.
Mm-hmm.
But, with a lot of things happening in the world, sometimes you get bookings, right? To come and, hey, Sami, come along and do a talk for us. And about a week before you're due to come, just checking, it's a very neutral topic. There's people from both sides. Just checking, you're not going to be talking about this or that. I'm just like, you're familiar with my work. You booked me for a reason. I will say things as it is. There's no editing. I'm sticking to my agreed themes and I have nothing to say. If you thought that I was that person, then you should not have booked me. At the end of the day, my stance on things, I will talk about. Don't have to agree with everyone, but I will not be censored. I will say things as it is. I like to speak my truth.
I'm guessing you're talking about Palestine, but maybe you're talking about other things.
Yeah, that was the example. Come and do a talk.
Yeah.
We have staff, that are Jewish as well as Muslim. I'm like, yes, so I'm not anti-Semitic. So what's the issue here?
Right.
I'm here to talk about. It was even Black history at the time, so I was just like, I will talk about Black Jews. I will talk about Black Muslims. I will talk about all things. This has nothing to do with me using what I've been briefed to come and speak about as an opportunity to, I guess, digress the conversation. If I'm booked for a particular thing, I'll come and talk about a particular thing. I'm not going to go and change the discourse unless I'm put in a position in a Q&A and someone asks me for my stance and I will speak my truth in response.
Yeah.
There's a difference. I'm not there to cause havoc unnecessarily, let's say, but if there are opportunities and platforms that will let you speak on something, then I will go ahead and speak my truth.
Have there been other topics that are noticeable that you've been censored about? I mean, I know that Palestine has been a particular flashpoint now, of course, but that you remember in the past,
Yeah.
you also felt you couldn't speak openly about, or that it felt tricky somehow.
So I actually remember my very first debut TV performance, right? Obviously, a lot of my poems are social justice, just talking about things. And there was a lot of debate, like, we want you to perform it, we're not sure which piece you want to do. I think they changed their mind about 5 times, picking different poems about what they want to do. Yeah, I was so adamant. I really wanted to perform a piece that reflected my identity, but in the end, I ended up still performing something controversial about. It was an angry free write following the brutality of George Floyd and his murder, and a lot of people were quite shocked that got chosen, right? Because they say things like that shouldn't be aired on TV. Or sometimes I go to events and I get, good feedback and people are like, you're not scared to talk about those topics? I'm like, why would I be scared? Like, at the end of the day, I'm speaking my truth. I'm saying things how it is. Anyone who feels uncomfortable with what I've got to say would probably just be a bigot, a racist, and at the end of the day, I'm just calling them out, and I don't feel that that's an issue.
Right.
But other than that, I can't see any problem with my work. I don't feel that I set out to offend, but I do share my perspective on lived experiences as well as the voice of others who can't speak up.
I met you at the Athens Video Poetry Festival, and I was really just like blown away by your work, the things that you said, and also the way that you performed. And I remember, I think the opening poem was about the dress that you were wearing.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if you want to perform this poem. I definitely welcome that. Or if you want to just talk about it, I would love to hear about it a little bit.
A little recap of that one.
Yeah.
Shouldn't. You see, I'm quite tomboyish, so I must confess that I weren't too keen on the idea of wearing a dress. After all, we're living in the West, so when I hear the word dress, I can't help but think of a garment that's been designed to show legs, arms, and chest. But don't get me wrong, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with this type of dress. It's just a case of who does and doesn't get to see me in this type of dress. After all, it's my body and my assets, so it's only right that I have control over the eyes that get to lay theirs upon this. And yes, as girls, we like to dress to impress, and that's blessed. So long as I'm doing this in the privacy of my home, for myself, or the hubby, family, or even for a girl's night in, I guess you could say we're a bit like stereos. Here to be heard and listened to, not watched like these chicks you see in music videos and in fashion magazines, all these size zeros. They're far from being my role models. I look up to those preserving their modesty, covering from head to toe in a long loose sheet. You can't even tell whether or not I got meat, 'cause face and hands are the only thing that's visible, only showing what's permissible in the presence of man them that are not mahram. I must observe this hijab. Firstly, 'cause it's a request from my Rab, and its purpose is not to burden me, rather it's to help me preserve my modesty. And honestly, there's not much difference between the dress of a nun and me. And as for face veiling, that existed long before Islam and Christianity, yet the Islamic dress alone has caused so much controversy. They say the dress we wear is taking away our liberty and ability to dress free. Well, I say what Sarkozy started up in France is taking the liberty. God created me, so he knows what's best for me. No doubt we're all different, but if we all dress similarly, then at least there's some sort of equality. And I know for a fact I ain't the only one who agrees with this methodology. I mean, all we gotta do is look across society. We all attain to some sort of dress to establish identity. And whether it be walking on the streets blacked out or dressing to impress for a night out, the dress that we wear sends out a message to those keeping an eye out. But what makes me wild out is the fact that even though this dress stands out, a lot of people are unaware of what it's all about. They just want to stare at us like we're fresh or we just come out of madhouse. Well, just to clarify, I'm not a freshie, my passport's red, I'm a Londoner practically born and bred, and I speak English very well, as you can tell. I'm educated and got a personality as well, laugh and joke like most other girls, so even if my outer garment is a little different from the rest, I urge you to look a little deeper, because there's still a big character and soul underneath this dress. There's that piece. You know what, this poem I wrote a while back, yet it feels like it will never get old, unfortunately. And I guess in times when I've got a longer set, I try to probably use that as an introductory poem, because the first thing people do when they see me, especially people that don't know me, is they look at my dress and there's a curiosity about it. So I feel obliged to explain my dress. So it's a great introductory piece. It's, you know, a combination of my journey to transition into the hijab, but also the frustration around the lack of freedom of choice in dress. But a lot of people just, I guess, were confused. Like, why do you have to wear that? Who do you have to wear that in front of? Like, and I kind of tried to explain that in this poem. So there's layers to it. Yeah.
Why do you feel like the hijab is particularly controversial?
I think it's just because it's an Islamic dress. And as I've already established, you know, or there are nuns that dress similarly, but they don't get that level of attention. Jewish women historically would even veiled up, or they might choose to wear wigs to cover up. But this commandment of covering in all the Abrahamic religions as a consistency, but Islam is the fastest growing religion and it's seen as a threat for that reason. So anything, I guess, that is visible to the faith, they will try and find a way to just negatively, I guess, portray it in discourse so that we have a harder life, or that we don't come to the religion, that we weaken our faith. Many reasons behind it, but I mean, the policing of women's bodies is an ongoing thing, right?
Yeah.
When I'm younger and I wasn't covered up, oh, you're wearing too little. Oh, you grow up, you start covering up. Oh, you're oppressed now. At the end of the day, there's no right or wrong way to dress, but people will always make a comment, especially, you know, the patriarchy would always make a comment on women's bodies and how they dress. This is just how it is.
How do you feel like your body, and I guess that that includes how your body is dressed, when you are in your work, how it gets read by others, and does that change? Does it feel different in different contexts? What do you notice about that?
Do you know what? Someone whose dress has changed from a youngster to adult life, I feel like there's always going to be a stereotype. So in my younger years, I guess I was quite visibly quite tomboyish, and they'd always see me as that black girl, the troublesome black girl kind of image. And then growing up, there's two elements to it. Or should I say, I've titled my debut EP of a triple threat, I am the most hated race. I come from the most hated religion and the most hated gender. So my dress or my image or my identity is always problematic in different layers, depending on which layer we want to tackle. So from the very first day I chose to observe hijab, actually before, when I set the decision, everyone was trying to put me off. Your last 2 weeks, Sami. Or work. No, if you want to, go ahead, but you look good, you don't need to wear that. So I think there's always like negative comments on that transition. Nearly everyone was putting me off. My own mother as well was just like, wear that, you're getting out of the house type of thing. Like no one was supportive of that journey, but it was just like, it's part of the faith. It's something I will need to do. It was just a matter of when. And it wasn't easy for someone who hates dresses. And, then I came to the point where it's like, okay, whatever I wear underneath for me is for me or in my privacy. And when I wear outside, I'm doing it, for God, as part of my faith. And I fell in love with it, to be honest. It's like, I feel a bit more, I don't know, protected in a way. I don't know how to explain it. It's a weird thing, but I don't feel it impacts me negatively in any way. It doesn't really make that much difference. It doesn't limit me from doing my day-to-day activities. It's just, outwardly, it's just a garment, but at the same time, I'm protecting my modesty and, I enjoy it. But if someone else says, you know what, hijab's not for me, I'd rather just wear my skirts or my shorts, whatever, I'm like, cool, you do you, whatever you feel comfortable in. I'm not here to say, right, everyone must observe this hijab. Even in that poem, say, okay, if a certain group of people all wear that uniform associated with their group, then, you know, there's some form of equality. If every single person in this planet was a Muslim, hypothetically, let's just say, and they all wore hijab, the men have their own hijab and the women have their hijab, right? We don't talk too much about the men's hijab, but they do have one. Like a man should cover from his navel to his knee. That part shouldn't be exposed. Like, so you might see, let's say a Muslim boxer might wear longer shorts and to keep his trousers kind of like above his ankles. So that's kind of his garment hijab. And a woman's would be as a minimal, you know, nothing but the face and hands. In terms of like niqab, there are like differences of opinion on that. Some women choose to wear that too, and they do feel it's obligatory. And some just do it because of their preference. And again, it's a choice. It goes back down to, I would never say to the niqabi sister, oh gosh, like it's too much, just show your face, you don't need to do that. If that's her choice and it brings her closer to God, then so be it, supportive of that, you know?
Yeah.
And likewise, if someone is just putting on a scarf and hasn't quite got to that head to toe stage, again, she's got her own journey. It's not an easy transition. Everyone has their own journey to what they choose to wear, what they feel comfortable in. And yeah, it is what it is. Focus on you, stop watching others. Like, you know, people love to say, look at what this person's wearing. At the end of the day, so what? They clearly feel comfortable in that. Good for them. It's representing them, you know? And I'd like to think I'm way more than my hijab, but it is a big part of my identity. Hence why I'm not just stripping tomorrow, like, yeah, okay, I'm going to just take it off. For that to happen, I would have to have literally just lost my faith, you know? Or maybe it's done out of coercion because I'm in a concentration camp. Like, there's a lot of people, let's take the Uyghurs in China, who are forced to uncover, eat pork, and do a lot of things against their religion. You know?
So violating.
This is violating. This is not because they want to, but, you know, you're forced to do that. So whilst I still have that freedom to choose to wear what I want to wear, I will do that, you know? And it's even the same in the Arab world, right? Once upon a time, Saudi Arabia made it compulsory for all women to cover. And that included expats. Again, arguably, if that expat is not following the Islamic faith, should that ever be legislation? You know? But it's not anymore. You know, you can go to these countries, you know, and wear what you want, just respecting a bit of a modesty. But to say to someone, you know, you've got to cover your face, I guess there's a difference with the fact that I can't help the fact that, you know, I grew up here and, you know, I would like to be able to live my life with freedom of choice. I would like London to be, or the UK to be, a welcoming space for me. I would like to feel at home here. But when it gets to the point where home isn't home, or you don't feel like, or you're told to go back home, and it's like, yeah, where's that again? Because definitely been here more than I've been Cameroon, but yeah.
Wow. Has that ever happened to you in London or in the UK?
Yeah. It happens quite often. Go back to your country, love. Yeah. That's a common. That's like another poem I wrote, which is like my poetical response to these people, you know? Look, my passport's blue and it ain't a counterfeit. Been here since I was a baby. I'm a British miss, speak English well and got a stiff upper lip. More British than a box of fish and chips. But when I tick black Muslim Brit, they label me a misfit. I could go into it, but you get the gist. Like, that's kind of like my response to them, you know? Like, they will always, I'm still a misfit, even with this identity.
One thing I notice when you perform, that you get into something I would describe as singing or melodic or
Musicality.
Rhythmic. Yeah.
You know what? It's crazy. Although people automatically think, you're someone who loves to listen to music and write to beats. I'm quite the opposite. I like to create my own music with my voice. I prefer a cappella. And for me, the audio is therapeutic. It's part of the release. I've always loved rhyme and rhythm, and creating that is part of my creative process almost, you know? It comes out to me in this melodic way, and, you know, as I release it, there's something so therapeutic, and it also helps with my memorization and flow, and it's almost like it's part of the performance, it's part of the delivery, but take nothing away from the message. There will always be a message in my poem, and I think when you deliver it in a different way as well, it will help the audience remember it more. You know, it's a different, sometimes a performance like, was that a poem or a, if people can't make out what it was. That's why I just like, look, I'm a rhymer. I just love to rhyme, hence the name. Sami just rhymes. That's my thing. And I guess spoken word is the nearest art form to what I can relate to. Because I can go all slam style. I can go, yeah, rap mode. I can go singing mode. You know, I get to, oh, you're the poem that sings. Or I've been told you're a dub poet. I'm like, I'm really not a dub poet. That ain't me. I don't know. I'm just Sami, unique in my own way, I guess.
What are some of the tactics you use to memorize your poems? Because some of them are quite long, and I was really impressed.
Yeah, so audio, again, it's part of me. I've just been an auditory learner. So I would have to record myself and just let it sink in. And it's just part of the process. I think repetition and audio and just listening to myself and making sure I've got it. My longest poem is an alphabet assassin, right? Which is like,
Oh, yeah.
as a track recorded, it's like 7 minutes and a half. But if I take my time with it, I can even go longer. It's storytelling. The letters connect. And, you know, you've got people that do alphabet assassins and it's like diddly dan and random gibberish. But I also make it rhyme. So I'm in my bag. And that rhyme helps me memorize things. It's the flow, it's the rhythm. It just kind of helps things sink in. It's like with nursery rhymes. How many times do we need to hear one before it's like, yeah, I got this. I remember Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star or whatever. Because of the rhyme. It's just short, snappy, and easy to remember. In my case, it's not always short, but
I was gonna say, it still seems like it would take quite a bit of work. So you're
it does.
recording it and you just
Yeah.
listen over and over and over again in headphones?
Exactly, you know,
Wow.
in the shower, on the commute, wherever, just to try and get that in. And then it's just like, right, no headphones, practice, and then make sure it's there. And then once it gets instilled into a part of your brain, that's it, it's there, you know. Now I'm currently suffering a bit with short-term memory. So it's taken me a bit longer than normal. That's due to a neurological condition that I've recently had. But so as an artist, yeah, not cool.
Do you want to talk about that at all? Like how that came into your life?
So a bit random. I used to get really bad migraines, and I didn't think too much of it. And then I randomly started to get like ringing in my ears as well. I've never had like tetanus or anything like that. And then I had an appointment with Specsavers, just a random, sorry, I don't know if this is global, an optician. And they just said, hey, do you want to pay a little extra to look at the back of your eye? And I was like, can't put a price on health, why not? And they could see there was like some sort of swelling in my optic nerve, which obviously nerves connect to the brain. And they're like, oh, it might be nothing, but you know, we're going to make a recommendation to your GP that you go and get checked. GPs in the UK are useless, slow, and it took a while for that referral to actually be actioned.
Yeah.
But then, yeah, I had to do a lot of checkups and scans and just found out that I had like pressure in my brain and they found fluids in my brain. And it's like, you see the GP negligence? You don't know how that could impact you. You start getting like brain fog and all of these things. So my long-term memory is great, but short-term memory, I have to really like work on that with like new pieces to make sure I've happily secured that in. So the process might be a bit longer. But yeah, that was kind of the process, just multiple hospital visits, which led to like a diagnosis of something idiopathic, which is quite rare. And yeah, just kind of working through that now. Hopefully it's something I will overcome. But it did impact me a little bit, the unknowns with diagnosis, which is something I'll touch on briefly on one of my next projects. And I actually did perform something on this the other day at an exhibition which I was asked to perform at, which focused on the brain. It's just a gathering of artists, visual artists, and a couple of other poets. And I opened up and we were talking about the barriers of people with neurodiversity as well as neurological conditions, trauma, mental health.
When you're waking up these days, what are those questions that are tugging at you?
Yeah, a lot of the time I'm just thinking about, I try not to worry too much about the future, and there's a lot of unknowns, but you can't help sometimes when I'm someone who's like an all or nothing person. I like to have a solution for everything, but when you see situations not changing, I'm full of a lot of anger, frustration. I'm very tired. And there's something about the UK, even though I've always lived in London, like I've come back, it's been like, yeah, just about a month today now, actually, since I've been back. And I don't know, it feels a bit unsettling being home. It sounds strange, but I've fallen out of love with my hometown. I'm in a weird space right now. But I'm writing. I'm also dabbling in a different art form right now. I'm writing my first play, shall I say?
Oh, cool.
So yeah, combining spoken word and theatre. So you might see some of these pieces, and yeah, that's part of the story. It's I'm feeling creative, and I feel like it's a good distraction from reality. But I'm feeling that there's a need to also incorporate and capture the times as an artist.
Absolutely. Yeah. What do you feel like your role is in these quote unquote these times? I mean, I say that in air quotes because I kind of feel like, I don't know, it's always these times. I mean, I can't really remember a time when there wasn't, war, occupation, genocide, racism,
This is it.
sexism, all these things,
Yeah. And this is my point exactly. When I mentioned timeless pieces, poems I've written 5 years ago will still be relevant in 5 years because times are not changing. And there's also this frustration as an artist. It's like, well, now I need to find a way to say the same thing in a different way because I'm not seeing the progress. And then I get tired about writing about the same things. And so it's looking for the inspiration or a different angle, because it's like I've used my voice to speak about this.
Yeah.
But hey, I know I need to be doing more, especially if I can't be on the ground and make a physical difference. I mean, sometimes I have been able to get out and go, and volunteer abroad and stuff, but it's not always feasible. So it's just like what can be done. And obviously there's things we do in silence as well that not everyone sees. Yeah, you can give your donations, you can speak to people on the ground if you know any and help. But the reality is there's also problems at home as well as abroad. Do what you can in your community and those around you, and you see an injustice. I mean, the least we can do is speak out about something, right? Use our bodies, whether it's voice or physical labor, to try and make things change. Yeah, I mean, like, if we do take what's happening in Palestine now, I've been involved in, I've known about this cause for a long time. It's nothing new. Sometimes you see people talking about it like it's a trend, and it's frustrating because it's like when I spoke about this to you many years ago, didn't batter an eyelid, but now, okay, it's televised, fair enough. so you can't escape it. But let's not forget, there's also multiple genocides happening in the world, and not everything's getting a spotlight. Like, then I start to worry sometimes. No one's talking about the Rohingyas anymore. No one's like, there's some communities that just don't get spoken of. And like, I know, for example, like Cameroon, I didn't grow up there, but I know there's like an anti-separatist movement. There's a lot of things. They're trying to do a two-state solution, but that's not spoken of too much either. There's like a lot of different conflicts happening around the world. You know the term NIMBYs, like not in my backyard? This whole, if it's not about my people, I don't care. Unfortunately, a lot of people have this mentality. And it's like, well, it's a Middle Eastern problem. It's an African problem. I'm not getting involved. And you just got to show the same energy to the same causes. At the end of the day, injustice is injustice, you know?
Yeah.
So many injustices, and, you know, there's just lack of human rights. Life is hard. Like, we have this saying as well in Islam, where there'll be a time where it's like holding on to hot coal. And I feel like we are living in that time right now, where it's really hard to hold on to hope, faith, because it's just chaos. Like, happiness is such a temporary emotion. It's such a temporary emotion. Like,
You
you get
just
these
heard
short,
from activist, writer, and engineer
you
Ahmed
know,
Badawi.
bouts of joy,
I'm Mad
You can
Kate,
read
and
more
you've
and
been
then
listening
reality
to
hits again. So
S.W.E.A.T.
you wake up again. You're like,
Sexuality, work, extraction.
I don't even want to
art,
switch on the news.
theatrics. S.W.E.A.T. is a series
But
of
at the same
conversations
time,
about performance
there's
and
FOMO, right?
performativity
You don't want to miss
of the
out. You want
sexual
to
and
be aware
sexualized
of what's
body
going on
in
so
work.
you can react.
The theme
Because
music was
we need to
composed
know.
by
We
me
need to
and
know.
features the voice
We
of
can't shut
performer and
ourselves
actor
away and
airs
just
every
carry on with
second
our lives.
Tuesday
That's
of the
just
month
wrong.
at 13
Yeah.
hours
Or
Central
I feel like
European
my
time
joy is only
on Collaboradio.
predicated on the fact
Free
of
Radio's Berlin
being
Brandenburg.
blind or
Broadcasting
ignorant
on
to somebody else's
88.4
ongoing
FM
suffering.
in Berlin,
This is it.
90.7 FM in Potsdam, and
Well,
streaming
what is
online
giving
at
you hope right now, if that's the thing that exists,
fr-bb.org.
or what is giving you
Afterwards,
joy?
it's available for streaming wherever you get your
Faith
podcasts.
and just knowing that with hardship comes
Thank you
ease,
so
and
much.
I know
You've
that
been listening to Collaboradio.
something will
Free Radio's
get better.
Berlin
That
Brandenburg.
every trial is followed up
Broadcasting on
with
88.4 FM
some
in
sort
Berlin,
of bout of joy.
90.7 FM in
And
Potsdam,
at the end
and
of the
streaming
day, I don't
online
expect
at
this life to be.
fr-bb.org.
This is a temporary abode, right? We're guaranteed death. We all know that. Everyone has different opinions on what happens once we die, but we can't deny the fact that we will eventually, you know, wrap up our time here. So it's just a case of trying to make the most of that time with the health that you have and your energy and your means, because yeah, we don't always have the means to do things that we want to do. And yeah, I guess joy is being able to make a difference and create impact, and as you say, like using our bodies before we can no longer use them.
Do you as a body ever feel that you're extracted from by others?
I do feel like, again, going back to the topic of identity, I feel that people only want to resonate with parts of me and ignore other parts of my struggle. Like when I talk about Islamophobic experiences,
I'm Mad
it's a
Kate,
movie,
and you've
right?
been
It's
listening to
making it up. They
S.W.E.A.T.
can't seem to
Sexuality,
think it's
work.
genuine. They're like, you don't really get interrogated at airports, do you? I'm like, yeah, it happens, mate. Like this is the reality. You know, people get strip searched. People need to understand that these things are happening, but they think, oh, it's just a movie. It's fabricated. So there's like racism. They're like, okay, yeah, we've seen enough of police brutality. We get it. That definitely happens. Okay, but I think people are just like, if I don't see it for myself, I don't believe it.
Right.
So you're misunderstood, but they think some parts of your conflicts
art,
are
theatrics.
exaggerated.
You've been
Thanks so
listening
much.
to Collaboradio.
Non-existent.
Free
So
Radio's Berlin
they only
Brandenburg.
identify with parts
Broadcasting
of you,
on
should I say.
88.4
I
FM
do
in
feel
Berlin,
that. Like I have a piece
and streaming
on why
online
people
at
black, female, Muslim, and it's like,
fr-bb.org.
even as a Muslim, within my own community of Muslims, some people don't like the black in me. Even as a black, some people don't like the faith I've chosen. And, you know, as a female, there'll always be a struggle identifying with this gender.
Yeah, and I don't know, it makes me think that that's why we have to find those, I guess those few close solidaric friends somehow that are able to see all of us and accept everything and be there fully with us.
Yeah. I mean, everyone has a unique journey and path on a life. Like, I don't expect every single black female Muslim to identify my journey. For example, let's take that diagnosis I mentioned. That's an isolating thing. When you have something idiopathic, if you don't know a community of people that have similar symptoms, then again, you are left kind of sidelined. I don't expect everyone to go through what I go through. At the end of the day, we're all human. We live in different environments. We have different upbringings, different circles. We enter different spaces. And I'm someone who always enters spaces where people don't look like me. And I'm bold and I feel like my voice is needed in those spaces. So I don't care. I'm like, bring me there. I'm not scared to travel to a place where, I might not be welcomed. I will go. If there's a need for me to be there, I will go. I will take everything on the chin. It's part of lived experience. And at the end of the day, you stand your ground and you stand in your truth. You be you. And whatever comes your way, comes your way. I feel like shutting yourself away, and because of all of the fear of what could happen, stops you from living life. And as artists, we need to tell our stories. If you're just cooped up in a house or, not really experiencing human interaction, what you share will be very limited.
It also speaks to what I see as your conviction and strength. I mean, you were describing that even, for example, your mother wasn't supportive of you wearing hijab. And so to me, it seems like you have a lot of strength inside you, a lot of conviction, a lot of faith, maybe for lack of a better word, or maybe that is exactly what it is, guiding you, that allows you to go into these different spaces and hold your space, hold your ground.
Definitely. And I didn't even grow up as a religious person necessarily. It wasn't, I always believed that I was created by a higher being. I guess I was on a path of monotheism. My father, when he was around, he did say to me, I remember he said to me, I've read the Bible, read the Quran, and I chose Islam as my religion. So my dad was a Muslim practicing. And I think when I was about 10, he took me to like a Saturday school in one of London's central mosques. So I had a basic understanding of Islam. It's not something I fully practice. And then my godmother, who's a preacher in church, so I had exposure to religion growing up. But how it all happened, it's literally random and unexpected. I didn't see that as something that would happen, me finding faith. But it's just a journey of questioning, why are we here? Yeah, we're guaranteed death, but why were we given life? Why have we got this body? If we go back to the topic of the body, like our body's given, it's loaned to us, right? During this duration, we've got it until it goes back to earth. It's only the soul that continues, and we believe like in the hereafter, you get a whole new body. It's the soul that's going to be judged really based on how you lived your life. Did you use your body? Your body will speak out. Your hands will talk about what you touch, whether you gave in charity, whether you used it to touch bad things. But while you're here, you're reminded to, your body has a right on you. You must rest when you're not well, and you must use it when you are to take action. It's all part of, we say ibadah, worship. It's part of the process. This hijab, all of these things are very small parts of the faith. Islam is a complete way of life. It's like everything from how I manage my finances to how I handle my day-to-day conversations to what I eat, the halal elements, whatever, avoiding alcohol and, bad substances, not using interest in my transactions, little things like that. But there's wisdom behind everything. And how I use my body and brain to make all these decisions keeps me grounded and firm, knowing that I've got a manual for life almost to support me to use my body in Islam. So for me, yeah, definitely it helps keep me going.
You just heard from Sami Rhymes, an international award-winning spoken word artist, poet, and author from London. You can read more about Sami and her work in the show notes. I'm Mad Kate, and you've been listening to S.W.E.A.T, Sexuality, Work, Extraction, Art, Theatrics. S.W.E.A.T is a series of conversations about performance and performativity of the sexual and sexualized body in work. The theme music was composed by me and features the voice of performer and actress Laurie Baldwin. S.W.E.T airs every second Tuesday of the month at 13 hours Central European Time on Collaboradio. Free Radio's Berlin-Brandenburg, broadcasting on 88.4 FM in Berlin, 90.7 FM in Potsdam, and streaming online at fr-bb.org. Afterwards, it's available for streaming wherever you get your podcasts. Thank you so much, and until next time.
Accumulates after absorbing articles addressing aggression and abuse towards Africans and anyone ancestral. Advarks are African animals, but Africans are animals. Annual attempts to annihilate and abolish all ain't always about Afghanistan and America. Armed authorities also abide in Africa. AK-47 name, accuracy attained, another assassination acclaimed. Americans are always about, and there's always an Aussie around. Abroad and alien, ancestors alight, alert and awakened alive. Anger aside, I'm always advancing and attaining achievements. Acclaimed author, also an artist. Audiences applaud and appreciate the art. Alhamdulillah, always ask Allah, attempting to attain the amazing attributes of his apostle Abdullah. Better to begin with Bismillah, bringing bounce of blessings and barakah. Banned the burqa and broke the barrier, bound by bureaucracy. Black is beyond beautiful, but being black's also a burden. Black boys born and bred in Britain bring bane before bringing bliss. Blacklisted, barred, barricaded behind bars, balaclavas and bloodbaths, beefing in back streets, back in bodies, beaten black and blue, then bodied in body bags before being buried. Baby mummies wore babies without baby daddies. Bad blood between brothers, broken bonds, babies born into broken homes. Black British, Cameroonian, covered up and causing confusion. Culture clashes and communal conflicts, centuries of corruption and calamities, commanders conquering countries and creating colonies, civil wars and colonial conflicts, constant catastrophes, corrupted systems, colonialism, can't stand capitalism, can't stand communism, concentration camps need cancelling, corrupted leaders be moving crazy and need counselling, crime for change whilst counting my change, carbon emissions concurrently contribute to climate change, creative creations, creatives creating, convey their craft to communities across nations, created creation, Catholics confess behind curtains, confide in my creator for certain, committed to the commandments conveyed in the Quran, but I still commit haram. I'm constantly under construction, changing my ways for the better, trying to circumvent combustion, constantly challenged from the cradle to the coffin, like CCTV. I'm constantly clocking my circle and what I'm copying. Camera shy children captured on cameras owned by cyber criminals, carnivals moving cynical, casually criminalizing and corrupting our children. Cancel child trafficking, cancel child abuse. It's time for the child to choose. Court case to claim custody, child protection, children in care, cause careless couldn't care less. Continents connect to combat corona, conspiracies concerning China, can't cure cancer, deadly diseases, dementia and diabetes, death by disease, dying with dignity, divinely decreed, devout to different deities, thicker and doxologies, doing the wire daily, demonstrating dedication, displaying disapproval of dictators at demonstrations, determined to dismantle the system and disempower those doing dodgy deals, done well to dodge drugs, but I've danced with the devil, dive into my duvet on dark days, dealing with depression and defeated, but determined to defeat it like Ebola. Every epidemic ends up ethnically cleansing and eradicating excellence. Evil entrepreneurs endeavor to extirpate the evidence. Eccentric endings at elections, extraordinary renditions and extraditions, politics of exception. No explanations for a number of executions and exonerations. generations. Euthanization and extermination of educated ebonies, essentially eliminating enemies. End up expressing empathy in endless eulogies. Everyone dies eventually. Find ourselves at funerals frequently. I frequently flee from Facebook, feeding feed fatigue, frustration and fed up of having feds up in my face. Fortunate to not have FaceTime, face fines and face hard times, fighting for freedom and fighting on the front line. Ferocious fiascos frequently featuring favelas and Palestine. Renfrew's gone green, got goosebumps breathing for yet another government generated genocide. Green light given to guys mutilating female genitals. Gutters are getting gentrified, guys and girls gang banging and getting guns, ghosting and getting gone. Generations gathered in graveyards, going to God or going through grief. Gitmo guards be grabbing garments and grievously bodily harming groups of guys in Guantanamo. Gitmo's gotta go hurriedly. It's a horror story that's gone horribly wrong. They hit men like they hit men in Hong Kong. Hearts heavy, hearing horrendous headlines. Hurting humans are hurting humans. Hyped hysteria, informants infiltrate and attain information, which in hand leads to increased incarceration and institutionalization of innocence. Isolation in place, interrogated away from internees and inmates. Inside, indefinitely once inside, incorporated into the world's most inequitable incorporation, jail. Justice is far from just, the judiciary system is a joke. Judges are jesters who join forces with jokers and are forced to jail juveniles like Jermaine and Janae just for being black or brown. Jinxed unlike John who jacks Jules and jumps Jamal but doesn't go down. Kings killed by knives and knocked out with Kalashnikovs, Ku Klux Klan and karate chopped. Long lifespans are unlikely for lads and ladies that look like me. Lifelong sentences and long hours of labour are more likely in lands like Libya and the land of the free. Lay low if you don't want to get left in a lake lynched or used as a lab rat. Liberate yourself from leaders and lead your own life like your own life. Make time for memorization. Men melancholy and madness for medication or meditation. Morning mantras cause manifestation matters. Make news but keep them muted. Never narrate nice news or new news to a narcissist. Nurture nature, newborns and new beginnings. Overcome obstacles in order to obtain your optimal. Object oppression and the obstruction of opportunities. Oppressors open fire at the opposition in onslaughts over owning oil and owning others like property. Pandemic got people panicking, panic buying and pointlessly paying for paper packaging. People in power are profiting from prison populations and profiling the penniless. Pictures of poor people only partially portray poverty. Paupers are predominantly poor because they're paid poorly. People of colour are perpetually prevented from progressing and pitilessly pushed aside or passed over when peacefully protesting against police brutality and public policies. People are popping pills and poisonous particles periodically, prickled with pain, palpitations, hearts pounding. It's time to pause. Be present and ponder, practice patience and prosper. Quarantines, questioning our leaders whilst quilling Quranic quotes and qasidas. Radicals run rampant with racist regimes. Radio silence for reporters, reporting on scene. Realize, ready for the revolution to be televised. Some states still sanction sterilizations, stealing stillborns before they're stillborn, surgically stopping sperm and stealing semen, sabotaging the sex life of smitten sweethearts. Strip search and sentence, separated from soulmates in society, struggling with sobriety. Suicide strikes suddenly, turbulent times, terrible tragedies taking place time after time. Torturous techniques used to terrorize and traumatize targets. Tyrants toppled and taken out by tired people that are tired of being tired and treated like threats. Ahigas from Amriki are under attack, uprooted and underworld where they are undermined and urged to autocrat. Violation after violation, vulnerable victims of violence, verbals and victimization. Victories are vastly valued, so virtually it's vices versus virtue. We want wonderful things, but we're not always willing to put the work in. We worship when we weep, when we're worried and when we're weak. But why do we forget to thank him when we win? That's warped like wars we enraged by wrong'uns. Xenophobia in Xinjiang, Xi Jinping exterminating man. Yazidis and Yemenis have become yesterday's news like a lot of Generation Y youths. Zionist speaks ever crossing into zones that are Palestinian owned. There's no zen in this zone. Can't sleep, need to catch up on Z's. I was zoned out on Zoom, Syrian times been feeling zombified, but now it's time to zoom back into reality.